Okay, so let's talk about the third type of preventative methods in being persuasive or avoiding persuasion to take happen from opposing points of view, and that is what is called forewarning. Forewarning is simply warning people of a potential impending persuasive message coming from a point of view, opposite point of view. It's basically warning them. It is giving them something to be nervous about, to create a little bit of fear. And it can be either just simply stating that they could hear an opposing message, or it could go into a little more detail of telling them what that opposing message is and why, what's different about it. So they got a heads up. But one of the things it could do potentially is within the mind of the receiver or the audience, they might begin thinking about counter arguments for what they might be hearing. And you give them a little uninterrupted time, and they will come up with these arguments in their mind. However, the textbook also pointed out that you give people too much time, and then they kind of forget about the counter arguments that they came up with on their own, and it becomes less productive. They talk about senior adults who were warned about phone call scams, and they were attentive to that potential threat for a little while, but then after a passage of time, they kind of forgot and were being taken advantage of. So they say forewarning is simply a heads up. It's kind of like the inoculation, but the inoculation includes actual examples of the opposing arguments. So it seems, again, just reading the textbook, that inoculation, they're on the same line of thinking. Inoculation is giving more details, examples, where forewarning is just giving them a brief heads up in their message. Okay, there was something interesting, I think, at the very end of the chapter that was helpful, and that is some things that you can do as a speaker who have been forewarned about you, that they have a perspective different from you. It's maybe a hostile audience. They disagree with you. You know they disagree. So what can you do when you're going to speak in that situation? Well, I lifted about 5 different thoughts from the textbook. Number 1, stress a lack of bias. Let them know that you're open-minded, that you're willing to listen. Number 2, remind them that their best interests were considered in your developing your presentation, that you thought about your audience, you thought about what's best for the audience. It's best for them to hear my point of view. So I had you all in mind when I was developing this speech. It wasn't just me developing a speech that I want to give, but what I considered might be helpful and beneficial to the audience. Third, let them know that you've considered both sides of the argument. You've thought them both through. You've evaluated them. You use that central processing to look at both perspectives, and you've come down on the side where you have, not simply on a quick decision or whim, but you've thought them through and evaluated both perspectives, and so you've come out with your own point of view. Ask them to keep an open mind. Just use those words. Say, so I know many of you disagree with my point of view today, but I would just ask that you keep an open mind while I'm presenting this material to you. And then also, one seems a little bit kind of giving things away, but they say you as the presenter, you may want to moderate your expectations. Don't expect that it's going to get too far. Maybe nobody will be persuaded. Maybe nobody will change their mind in your presentation. But, don't be distraught. Do your best, and who knows. But don't be surprised if people don't change their perspective on your presentation. Okay, so that's the end of that chapter. I kind of went through this last portion very quickly. So that's it for now. Thank you.